Hi again, everyone. This is Thais. So, there's a quote that I keep seeing on social media. It says, "A lie travels around the world while truth is putting on her boots." In this case of diabetes, it has been traveling for decades. Here's the truth: almost every natural process in the body and the way the body runs affects blood sugar. The body's primary source of energy is glucose, particularly for the mitochondrial cells, and glucose travels throughout the bloodstream for the cells to extract and use. So, how was this process turned against the body itself and against our own innate knowledge that real sugar is both a protector and a healer in the body? Brace yourself, because I dove deep. Diabetes was apparently discovered 3,000 years ago in ancient Egyptian medical papyri. Then it was named quote unquote diabetes by a Greek physician in 250 BCE, a Greek word translated as quote excessive passing of urine, end quote, to 5th century India, where it was then called honey urine, due to ants being attracted to someone's urine who was affected by this condition, all the way through China, Korea, Japan, to 1889, when German physicians linked it to the pancreas. Then to 1921, where two researchers from the University of Toronto extracted insulin from the pancreatic glands of dogs, creating insulin to balance blood glucose in humans. It was later extracted from the E. coli bacteria, making a synthetic human insulin that is now used in modern times. Whew, what a long history. So, since the discovery of diabetes goes back to thousands of years, it can't be a sugar problem, can it? Diabetes mellitus, the formal name to diabetes, currently has two branches, type 1 and type 2. Here, both conditions stem from a malfunctioning pancreas, but the blood is being treated for the symptoms. Both types stem from a flukeworm infestation in the pancreas, causing it to no longer produce or balance the insulin hormone. That would explain why it began over 3,000 years ago, since flukeworms have been discovered in both human and animal remains from millions of years ago. We ingest them through contaminated water, raw vegetables, crustaceans like crab, shrimp, lobster, crayfish, fish, even walking barefoot and breathing in their larvae every time we walk outside. A parasite cleanse is in order, as well as consuming fenugreek seeds, which has been shown to kill off flukeworms since it is used as an anti-parasitic in India and other Asian countries. The seeds can be soaked in water or cooked into curries and be made into tea. It should not be taken by pregnant women and those who are on blood thinners. Cloves also have been proven to be a powerful anti-parasitic, killing off flukeworms and their larvae. The second factor ignored in a diabetes diagnosis is arsenic. In scientific studies, it is shown that arsenic in any amount had a stress response on the body, causing an inhibitory effect on the expression of the hormone receptor that activates insulin action. In the alternative medicine circle, type 2 diabetes is actually nicknamed rice-abetes due to rice, especially brown rice, having high levels of arsenic. Other sources of how the body ingests arsenic is through lawns that use weed killers. We track it inside the house, and then we walk barefoot and we ingest arsenic in that manner. Crops that use pesticides, the food itself is contaminated with arsenic. Contaminated drinking water, seafood, especially shellfish, poultry, particularly chicken, cigarettes and vaping, as well as airborne arsenic. One way to consume rice safely is to soak it for an hour and then rinse and wash it thoroughly 3 times before cooking. That will eliminate most of the arsenic, but avoid brown rice and rice grown in North America. Those have shown high contamination levels of arsenic. Indian white rice, like basmati rice, seems to have the lowest arsenic levels. Or eat wild rice, which is actually not a grain, it is a vegetable. And do a heavy metal cleanse of the body. The last factor I will address is the myth behind sugar. The cause of the sugar spikes in the blood is soybean, canola, and other toxic seed oils, as well as the processed sugars and chemically created artificial sweeteners and excess processed carbohydrates like donuts and muffins and bagels, etc. These create a fat barrier, especially the soybean and canola oils, around the mitochondrial cells, clogging them and preventing them from receiving the sugar, which are the cells that need sugar to both function and survive. Without sugar, they eventually die and you get sick. This sugar gets flooded into the bloodstream because it cannot get into the mitochondrial cells. Now, these are some industries that invested in the insulin industry and created a diabetes culture around it. The first is seed oils, soybean, canola, mazola corn oil, safflower, those kinds of seed oils being the top ones. Good morning breakfast cereals, omega-3 fish oils, and the fat-free, non-fat simulated foods that flooded grocery stores. These are the reasons why diabetes skyrocketed in the last century, and especially the last 3 decades. Another hormone related to sugar is cortisol. High levels of cortisone causes elevated blood glucose levels. What is called diabetes has the same elevated conditions in the body as chronic stress or high cortisol levels. People are being treated for diabetes when the condition they actually have is excess cortisol, which can also be triggered by mold toxicity in their environment and in their body. Cortisol is also elevated in the body when the cells become low or depleted in magnesium. The cells become stressed from the magnesium depletion and it creates a stress response. A magnesium deficiency is a chronic condition in a large percentage of the population. So that sums up the 3 main factors causing what is widely known as diabetes. Realize that the body recognizes naturally occurring sugars like the natural sugars in milk, lactose, and fruit, fructose, which incidentally are 2 of the main nutrients in breast milk. Gestational diabetes in many cases is also false because the female body naturally produces more sugar to feed the baby in the womb. It is sugar that is assisting cellular development in the baby. Fruit sugars have natural fiber and other healthy nutrients and vitamins, even minerals, by its design, and the body processes them in a way it needs and is safe and beneficial for it. The fact is, the body runs on sugar. Eat the whole fruit, not just the juice. Now, the lab tests that were used to create the whole phenomenon of testing blood for a number were done immediately or within 1 to 2 hours after the food or sucrose was ingested by the persons tested or the rats that they did the tests on. Of course, the blood sugar will be elevated because they just ate. The body is using a number of systems and hormones to process the sugar all at once. The number is essentially irrelevant. But those who get high glucose numbers like 15, 16 or above, that indicates that the entire body is in a high state of cortisol stress because it's continuing to push and push to get the sugar into the mitochondrial cells, and it cannot get it into them. So it keeps flooding out into the bloodstream. This stress on the body is what causes people to collapse. Here is a fun fact. Even if you put something sweet, like a piece of fruit or a piece of candy in your mouth without chewing it or swallowing it, the sugar level in the body will become elevated because the taste of something sweet can stimulate the body to release glucagon, the peptide hormone that increases blood sugar to keep it from dropping too low. The idea that diabetes is a disease and it is caused by eating too much sugar not only ignores the healing benefits of sugar to the cells and body as a system, it ignores the triggers talked about in this video, as well as growing recognition that polyunsaturated fatty acids like soybean and canolas and soft flour oils, these cause insulin resistance and damage the pancreas. To heal, detox the toxic oils formed around the cells by eating coconut oil, coriander oil, cold-pressed flaxseed oil, cold-pressed pumpkin seed oil. Eat healthy saturated fats and real fruits. I now hope the truth overpowers the lies. Take care of yourself, everyone. Bye for now.